Just think about what's one small step you can commit to this week. Not a big overhaul, not a big leap, not a grand gesture, just one step. You're listening to Side Hustle Pro, the podcast that teaches you to build and grow your side hustle from passion project to profitable business. And I'm your host, Nikayla Matthews-Okome. So let's get started. Hey friends, hey, welcome back to the show. It's Nikayla here, back with another episode of Side Hustle Pro and another solo episode on the Expansion Era series. First of all, thank you and shout out to y'all for all of the feedback on the first two episodes. If you haven't listened yet, go back and check out number 1, Why I Lost My Mojo, and also the latest episode before this one, which was all about when business gets hard, do not quit, do this. Today, I want to talk about the fact that my life was running me until I took this step. So my life used to feel like it was running me. From the moment I opened my eyes, it was rush, respond, repeat, recycle, repeat, get the kids fed, clear my inbox, squeeze in coaching calls, try to record an episode, and somehow still be present as a wife, a mom, a friend, a business owner. It was a lot. Oh, and let's not forget, also try to prepare healthy meals for yourself, get in a workout, all of the above, look cute. And no matter how much I got done, I still always felt behind. And of course, there's an aspect of life that you just have to accept that not everything is going to get done at the same time, on the same day, in the same season. There's an aspect of that as well. But I was in this loop of just constantly sprinting, constantly pushing, but never feeling satisfied. And it wasn't until I took one small step, one shift in how I looked at my process, that things started to feel different. Today, I want to share that step with you. And really, it comes down to 5 lessons that I'm going to share. And these lessons didn't show up all at once. They have been unfolding in this season, the Expansion Era season of my life. And maybe they'll help you in yours. And by the way, I am literally still learning these lessons myself. This series is all about sharing as I go because it's quite therapeutic for me. So lesson number 1 is focus on the muscle you're building, not the results. So I had a check-in call with my fitness coach, Anna J. Fit, the other day, and she asked me a question that kind of stopped me in my tracks. I was not expecting this. She said, what would you tell your coaching client? So I just finished sharing with Anna all the roadblocks I was running into on my fitness journey, all the life challenges that are making it hard, that are making me kind of take 2 steps forward and then take 3 steps back. So then she listened quietly and then she asked me that question. Before I give you an answer, what would you tell your coaching client? Ooh. The funny thing is, I had just told one of my clients the exact thing I needed to hear and what I told Anna, which was focus on the muscle you're building right now, not the result. You're getting frustrated because you keep thinking about when is this going to happen for me? When is the money going to start rolling in? When am I going to land a contract? Like the clock is ticking. I need to either find a job or figure this out. And I had to remind my client that this is bigger than this one moment. The muscle that you're building right now will ensure that you will always be able to command and get money into your business with your own skill set. You'll never have to rely on anyone again if you build this muscle. And so that's what was most important. And so Anna flipped it back at me and let me know that's exactly the same thing you're going to go through on this journey. It is more important for you to focus on the steps you need to take to make this a part of your being. Literally, what I was struggling with was honestly, food tracking. I hate it. I hate it. I was like, there's got to be another way. Can I kind of just estimate, get into a rhythm? And yes, I will get there because I'll build the muscle of being so in tune with my portions and what a portion looks like that I will no longer have to live by the inputs in the app. But right now, in this season where I am reconnecting with my body in a sense, I need to still build this muscle. And so I cannot be focused on the result, which is some arbitrary number on the scale, when I am not even building that muscle to get that result. You feel me? You see how much easier it is to coach someone else than to coach yourself? It is so much easier to coach someone else than it is to coach yourself, right? But this is why we all need guidance. We can see someone else's patterns, we can encourage them, but when it comes to us, suddenly it's complicated. But this conversation was my reminder that if I only measure myself by the results, the scale, the downloads, the money, the likes, I will always feel like I'm falling short. But if I look at what muscle I'm strengthening right now, I can actually see the progress I'm making. So I've started to ask myself, what muscle am I building today? What am I working towards? Maybe it's discipline. Maybe it's courage. Maybe it's patience. The shift alone in my mindset can keep me going. And speaking of that, lesson number 2 that I've learned is you have to fall in love with the process. On this journey, the process is more important than the result. And my conversation with Anna reminded me that deciding to pull a lever is only the first step. We talked about levers in the last episode, right? About when business is down, what you need to focus on is what levers can I pull right now? What can I do? And each and every day you're focusing on, all right, I'm pulling this lever, I'm pulling that lever. And so it's kind of walking you back from the ledge of just feeling sorry for yourself or feeling worried or stressed. But deciding to pull a lever is only the first step. The real step is what you do after the decision of what are my levers, and not only what you do, but how you do it. Are you truly committed to the process, or will you let every excuse, I'm tired today, I'm sad today, ooh, that's a big one, not feeling it today? Can you pull yourself back from that? Can you fall in love with the process so that you can find a way to squeeze in some part of the action to pull that lever? That's what I've started doing. So making the decision was the first step, but then the real test is, are you really committed to the process? You have to fall in love with that process. It's easy to show up when you're excited, when you're motivated, when you're well rested. When's the last time you were well rested? But what about the days when you're tired or when you're sad or when nothing seems to be working? I've had to get real with myself about this. So I used to give myself outs. Oh, I'll start fresh on Monday. I deserve a break today. It's hard. I just got some bad news. I deserve a rest today. I'm not in the mood. And that is fine. Occasionally, it is fine to take those moments for yourself, but those moments do add up. Let me tell you, before you know it, you're looking up and it's September and it's almost the end of the year and you're starting to feel that crunch, like, what did I accomplish? Or did I really move and take actions toward my goal? And I don't want that for you. And by the way, just because it's September does not mean that you're out of time and you need to start again in 2026. That is another big lie that we tell ourselves. I see that often too with my podcast group coaching clients. When people join Podcast Moguls, I'll ask them if they haven't launched yet, when they're getting ready to launch. And it's often like some date 90 days or more in the future. Why do we do that to ourselves? Because we tell ourselves these stories about how hard it's going to be, how long it's going to take. Oh, this is a lot. I'll just start fresh in 2026. No. We're not doing that anymore. All right. So I've been reframing commitment, reframing falling in love with the process. And for me, I have to tell you, when it comes to processes, the TikTok girlies got it right about romanticizing the mundane. You really do see a difference when you romanticize your life, which to me means make pleasant associations with the ordinary aspects of your life. Things like getting up, putting your coffee in a beautiful mug, your favorite mug or your favorite container that you've gotten. I've recently gotten a new portable coffee mug and it's tan and it just brings me joy to look at. So my morning coffee is a moment of joy. I have been romanticizing. I talked about the groceries, right? And meal prepping, whereas before that was a tedious task for me. I did not want to do it. But now that I have a journal that I enjoy writing in, and I enjoy writing in my pad with the different sections of the grocery list, it might sound so small and silly to some of y'all, but it really does work in making even that aspect of doing something that helps my health. When I take 30 minutes to an hour, like another thing is being able to give yourself time to do it slowly so you're not rushed, because when you feel rushed, you enjoy it less. So being able to take that time to do something that ultimately leads to me eating better, me sleeping better, me fueling myself for my workouts, and subsequently me losing weight, which is the journey that I'm on, then that effort to romanticize that tedious task is so worth the ripple effects. So think about that for yourself. Like, what aspect of the process can I change so that I can fall in love with this process? That's what builds the muscle. Falling in love with the process builds the muscle. And one last thing I'll say about this. The tracking piece, I didn't enjoy it before, but after having that conversation, and again, I like to think of things as like simplifying. Like, it finally dawned on me, if I just track what I'm eating, what I'm putting into my body, that's all I have to do to lose weight. Now, I know that that is not all I have to do, right? But it was such a huge part of it. You can't outwork a bad diet. So if I'm not literally looking and studying the trends of, ooh, that's where that day went left. And sometimes you don't want to track because you realize you done went over. You already know that cheat meal was over on the carbs, on everything. So that says it in and of itself. Like, if I don't want to track fat, I probably shouldn't be eating that. So I've fallen in love with the process of tracking now, because I've tricked my brain into thinking, this is all I have to do. I don't even need to work out if I don't want to. All I need to do is track what I eat. And if I'm seeing that I'm meeting my macros, I'm going to lose weight. Boom. That is so simple. That is just easy, right? That is part of romanticizing that process. So take what you can from this episode to start falling in love with your own processes that you need to work on. So we've talked about lesson 1, focus on the muscle you're building, not the result. We've talked about lesson 2, falling in love with the process. And now let's talk about lesson 3, tracking the process, not the result. This, in keeping with lesson 2, this has been huge as well. So for so long, I only tracked outcomes. Did I lose the pounds? Did I gain the followers? Did I hit the revenue? And if the answer was no, I felt like a failure. So when I first shared my first episode of the expansion era called Why I Lost My Mojo, my DMs were flooded. People that I had never seen comment or like a post of mine before or in a while, they were sharing with me in my DMs how Side Hustle Pro had impacted their lives. And it was so nice to hear from them. I screenshotted and saved them in my folder for those days I'm feeling low. And, people replied to my email when I sent it out to my email list. And it was a reminder that the visible results in life, the likes, the comments, even the shares, because now you can see how many times your posts have been shared on Instagram and the like, even the shares, they don't tell the full story of your impact, and they never will. That's why you have to keep going. There are some people who will never comment, never do anything that you can visibly see. But the people who hit you up on the side in the DMs, in an email, they will become future clients. They are super impacted. And you wouldn't have even known it if you quit because you didn't see the numbers you want to see. That's why we have to keep going and fall in love with the process. Become agnostic to those results. Literally, it's going to happen as a result of me doing this process, which I'm so in love with. And that's beautiful. What a beautiful outcome. I'm just doing something that I enjoy, tracking my meals because I think, ooh, it's so fun now because I know what it's going to lead to. And I'm not tied to looking at a scale because I know it's going to happen as a byproduct of this anyway. That is why we keep going. That is why we track the process, not the result. I've retrained my mind about tracking the process. Again, did I show up today? Did I write? Did I record? Did I hit publish? Did I track? Did I drink my water? That's what matters. Because when you track the process, you give yourself credit for the work you're actually doing, not just a finish line that you haven't reached yet. How depressing is that to only be tracking something that you haven't reached yet? Track what you have done. And that builds confidence, which is what this whole era is about. We're rebuilding my confidence, your confidence, getting our swag back, getting our mojo back. That is what builds momentum. Now, let's get to the lesson 4. The fourth thing that I'm learning in this season is adjust for your shortcomings. I had to get really honest with myself about my working environment, okay? Now, I love working from home. I used to dream about working from home. I remember when I worked at NPR, I would get so distracted and frustrated sometimes at work because of the meetings and the people popping by my open cubicle. And so I one time had a meeting and I presented to my boss this idea of working from home once a week. And I remember he brought up, well, what am I going to tell everybody else if I let you work from home? And I remember thinking like, what's that got to do with me? They got to come in here and do their own proposal. Okay. I cracked myself up. But anyway, he was not down with the idea. And so it's so wild to me. I was ahead of the times. Now that I see so many companies with hybrid work environments, and I know a lot of them are shifting and rescinding that, which is so boo. I used to dream of that setup, right? But now that I work from home, I see that working from home does have its downsides. It does have its shortcomings. And for me, one of those is that I am actually very easily distracted by my environment. At home, there's always something visually that pulls at me, that swirls in my brain, whether it's a reminder, ooh, add that to the grocery list that's about to finish. Ooh, the laundry, let me just pop in a load. And it's never just popping in a load, you know, like that is something else that's added to your mind in that moment. It's like straighten up here, straighten up there. Ooh, the dishes, let me start the dishwasher so it doesn't pile up by bedtime. The notifications, the snacks in the kitchen calling my name. All of that are distractions. So instead of thinking I can just willpower my way through it, or I can just work from an area that's a little less visually distracting, I've had to get real about how much more productive I am when I leave my home. And I love being in my home. It's so cozy. I've created all these nooks. Y'all know I record from home because I love creating a cozy corner. However, I've had to adjust because in this expansion era, I am no longer going to continue to be the Michaela that I have been, where I have been less productive because I have been more distracted. For me, that means leaving the house. Rain or shine, I go to a coffee shop at least a few times, working up to at least 4 days a week. And that little shift is everything because when I walk into that space, I step out of mom mode and into CEO mode only. Like for those of you who, you know, when you're in the office and you're not bombarded by meetings, I'm sure you feel a difference. Like the you that's in the office is a different you than you that's at home. Probably, you know, in more casual clothes, trying to like make some matcha, trying to like do a load of laundry and all these different things that result in you stepping in and out of CEO mode. Maybe for you, going to a coffee shop would be helpful, like it is for me. Maybe it's a library or a co-working space or even a specific corner of your house. The point is, we all have distractions. We all have shortcomings. Recognize whatever they are in your own journey, whatever it is that you're working on. What is your shortcoming? Another one for me was my kids' snacks. Luckily for me, my kids are not huge snackers, but in trying to get them to eat more, have tried out different snacks. And there are some times when those snacks for me are derailing me and they're not even eating them. I'm like, why? I'm not bringing these cookies into my home anymore because again, thankfully for me, I don't know how long it will last. My kids aren't into cookies. So why am I bringing them in my house? That is a distraction for me and my journey. So no, I do not bring a bunch of snacks into my house that they're not going to eat anyway and that are going to tempt me when I'm stressed. We can stick with the fruits and the nuts and the things like that that they like. All right. The point is, we all have shortcomings. Instead of ignoring them, acknowledge them, plan around them, adjust for them. And that's what is going to keep you consistent on this journey and make you feel like you are running your life and not the other way around. All right, so I know I said I was going to have 5 lessons, but I realized I have 4. So speaking of adjusting, what I'm learning in this season is let go of expectations of how you thought things were going to look and see and really try to celebrate things for what they are. If you look deeply enough and closely enough, there are wins everywhere, guys. There are wins everywhere. And sometimes it goes back to that. When you're hyper fixated on a result, you don't stop and smell the roses. You don't pick your head up and say, hey, I've actually made some great progress in this area. For me, even if it's mentally, even if I am handling pressure with more grace for myself than I have even 6 months ago, that is a win. Even if I am handling stress or pressures of life with more grace and ease and calm, that's a win. The other day, I went to get my annual physical, whoop, whoop, taking care of my health. And I was, you know how it is sometimes when you're about to go into a physical, especially as a Black woman, and you know they have their whole BMI thing that they still going by, that antiquated thing. And so it's going to tell you like, oh, you're so overweight, blah, blah, blah. And so, of course, I was feeling a little bit of anxiety around that. But what I realized, which was more, it was almost a surprise, is I hadn't even remembered that my last appointment was in June, and that was for a different doctor, a different specialist. And, you know, they're all under the same health umbrella. And so when I went to this appointment in September, I was down 8 pounds, and I didn't even remember that June appointment. Life has been such a blur, but here I am hyper fixated on where I thought I would be on the scale by September. And I'm, like my coach said, oh, we're not going to gloss over this achievement just because you want to be somewhere else. Like, what we're not going to do is not celebrate that. Let that be a reminder to you that let go of only having the expectation of how you want it to be, how you thought it would be, and really look at what you can celebrate right now. If it feels like your life is running you, listen again to these lessons, really take them to heart, and I can promise you that you will start feeling more like you're running your life and less like it's running you. So with that, let me go on ahead and close this episode. This is how I'm making sure that my life doesn't run me anymore. This is how I'm doing it, y'all. Let me remind you, it's not because I've mastered everything. It's not because I've hit every goal. I certainly haven't. But it's because I'm choosing to show up differently. I'm choosing to think differently. I'm choosing to work on my mindset. I'm choosing to get coaching and therapy and support in areas where I can no longer hold it myself. I'm reminding myself that I do not want to be the director of every department in my business or my life. And it has helped a ton. And if you're in a season where you feel like life is running you, again, I want to leave you with this. Just think about what's one small step you can commit to this week. Not a big overhaul, not a big leap, not a grand gesture, just one step of everything we discussed today. And we've been talking about this on the journey so far. We know that life doesn't change in one big sweeping overhaul. It changes in the small, intentional steps you take every single day. And that's how we expand. So if podcasting is part of your expansion and part of your next chapter, part of feeling like you are running your life, then make sure you register for my live class. It's happening next Friday. Start the podcast that builds your exit plan and frees you from the career you've outgrown. Head over to podcastmoguls.com. The link will be in the show notes to register for that class. And with that, I'll talk to you next week. Hey guys, thanks for listening to Side Hustle Pro. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other side hustlers just like you to find the show. And if you want to hear more from me, you can follow me on Instagram at Side Hustle Pro. Plus, sign up for my 6-bullet Saturday newsletter at sidehustlepro.co/newsletter. When you sign up, you will receive weekly nuggets from me, including what I'm up to, personal lessons, and my business tip of the week. Again, that's sidehustlepro.co/newsletter to sign up. Talk to you soon.